The human mind is a fertile field. Plant weeds, and weeds will grow. Plant seeds of greatness, and your destiny will shift. Most people are prisoners, not in a cell of iron, but in chains forged by their own thoughts. The truth, you don't need to break out. You need to break through. If you're going to rise, you must shift your paradigm, your deep-rooted mental framework that quietly decides what's possible for you. And today I will give you 10 powerful strategies to break your mental limits and rewire your thinking for unstoppable success. But here's the truth. The blueprint you're living by is outdated. It was drawn by the fears of other people. It was shaped by limitation, not by your vision. Every time you feel that resistance when you're about to take a leap, that's not your intuition warning you. That's your old programming begging you to sit back down. That's the blueprint telling you this is not for people like you, when deep down you know you're meant for more. You cannot redesign your life until you demolish the mental house built by other people's limits. You've got to stop patching up the cracks in a structure you were never meant to live in. Stop rearranging the furniture in a house that was never yours. Stop adding new dreams to an old mindset. This is not about renovation. This is about revolution. You've outgrown the framework. You've outgrown the labels, the lies, the limitations, the self-doubt that was passed down to you like a family heirloom. You don't fix a broken mat. You draw a new one. You don't adjust the cage. You break the lock. That old blueprint wants you to stay predictable, small, ordinary, easy to manage, easy to please. It wants you to keep choosing safety over growth, familiarity over fulfillment, logic over possibility. It's written in the language of survival, not success. And as long as you're loyal to it, you will sabotage every breakthrough with an unconscious belief that you don't deserve it. You'll delay your own progress with habits you didn't choose. You'll keep returning to relationships, jobs, and situations that match the blueprint, not the future. Because no matter how much you want to elevate, the mind will always retreat to what it believes is home. You cannot hit a target you haven't defined. Most people drift through life with no clear direction, not because they lack ambition, but because they've never written down a single burning purpose that commands their attention and focuses their actions. A definite chief aim is not just a goal. It's not a wish, a vague dream, or something you kind of hope might happen if things go right. It is a chosen obsession, a singular focus that brings structure to your thoughts, order to your chaos, and meaning to your movement. It is the central fire that fuels your decisions, your energy, your time, your habits, and your discipline. Without a definite chief aim, your mind becomes a wandering instrument, pulled by distractions, scattered by opinions, and hijacked by urgency. You spend years climbing ladders only to find they were leaning on the wrong walls. You chase many things, but catch nothing of substance. You stay busy, but not directed. And the tragedy is not in failing. The tragedy is in succeeding at things that never mattered. Because if you don't define your aim, someone else will. Your environment, your past, your fears, or the loudest voice in the room. And then you'll wonder why life feels hollow, even when you're achieving. To have a definite chief aim is to declare to yourself and to the universe, this is who I am becoming. This is what I am building, and nothing less will do. It must be written clearly, felt deeply, and spoken with conviction. Write it down not once, but every day. Keep it where your eyes cannot miss it. Repeat it until your subconscious memorizes it, until your mind filters the world through it, until your actions align with it without hesitation, because clarity creates momentum. When you know what you're after, decisions become easier. Distractions lose their power. Fear has no foothold. You stop entertaining detours because the destination is too important, and your aim must be specific. General goals lead to general outcomes. Don't say, I want to be successful. Define what success means to you. Don't say, I want more money. Decide how much, by when, and doing what. Vague dreams inspire vague efforts. Precision turns wishes into plans. This isn't about what sounds good on paper. This is about what sets your soul on fire, what makes you restless when you're still, what keeps whispering to you in moments of silence. Your chief aim should be so emotionally charged that to delay it feels like betrayal, and it must be backed by belief. Don't write it as a fantasy. Write it as a future fact. Speak it like it's already real. Wrap it in faith, not doubt. The world makes room for those who know where they're going. When your mind is fixed, the path begins to shape itself. People, resources, and ideas begin to appear, not by magic, but because your awareness is now focused. You start seeing opportunities you used to overlook. You start showing up like someone who expects to win. Your habits start shifting to support the vision. Your inner world begins constructing the outer reality. Every belief you hold is a building block in the structure of your life, but not every belief was chosen. Some were inherited. Some were absorbed. Some were forced upon you by repetition, environment, or fear, and over time they became facts in your mind. Not because they were true, but because they were never questioned. You were told that's just how life is, and you believed it. You heard people like you don't make it that far, and you accepted it. You failed once and assumed you were not cut out for it. You got rejected and decided you were unworthy. And every one of those assumptions became a silent architect, shaping the ceiling of your potential and the borders of your reality. But here's what most never realize. Assumptions are not truth. They are agreements you've made, often unconsciously, based on limited experiences, outdated models, or someone else's opinion. And unless you interrogate those assumptions, they become your rules, rules that limit your decisions, your growth, your income, your relationships, or power. You stop applying for the promotion because you assume you're not ready. You avoid starting the business because you assume you'll fail like last time. You don't speak up in the room because you assume your voice holds less value. These mental shortcuts save time but cost lives because they rob you of your evolution before you even take the risk. The bold move is to stop accepting thoughts just because they've been in your mind for years. It's to treat every belief like a suspect, not a savior. Hold it up to the light and ask, who taught me this? Where did this idea come from? Does this still serve the person I'm becoming? Start becoming suspicious of the word can't. Start rejecting the sentence, that's not realistic. Realistic to who? Measured by what? Within whose system? Begin to notice the invisible borders you live inside. The ones that say you're too young, too old, too late, too early, too average, too broken. And when you see them, push against them. Not once, but relentlessly. Every time you challenge an assumption, you shake the foundation of your mental prison. You give yourself permission to see further. Most of the time, you're not stuck. You're just obeying an assumption you've never examined. Break one, and a new path opens. You are told wealth is for the lucky, success is for the gifted, love is for the beautiful, healing is for the chosen few. But none of that was ever law. It was opinion. It was a product of fear, control, or cultural programming. But if you don't rewrite the script, you'll keep repeating the scene. It is not your job to preserve the past. It is your responsibility to evolve beyond it. You don't have to resent where you came from, but you must be willing to rise above the limits that try to place on you. Challenge the assumptions that say your worth is based on your mistakes. Challenge the belief that ambition makes you arrogant. Challenge the voice that says it's safer to shrink than to shy, because if you don't challenge them, you will obey them without realizing it. Your life becomes smaller than your spirit. Your choices become smaller than your dreams. And your reality becomes smaller than your imagination. You would never go days without feeding your body. You would never starve yourself from water, nutrients, and oxygen and expect to move through life with energy, focus, and vitality. And yet that's exactly how most people treat their minds. They starve their intellect, their creativity, their courage. Not from lack of capacity, but from neglect. You feed your body with meals, but you feed your mind with words, images, voices, and ideas. And everything you consume mentally either strengthens your paradigm or poisons it. It either plants vision or installs fear. It either sharpens your focus or dulls your edge. Your mind is not neutral. It is a reflection of what you continuously pour into it. If you consume drama, you will think in chaos. If you consume limitation, you will speak with hesitation. If you consume gossip, fear, outrage, and meaningless entertainment, your subconscious will begin to normalize low vibration thoughts, and you'll begin to operate below your potential without even realizing it. You will think small, not because you are small, but because you've built a mental diet around ideas that shrink you. You've got to treat your mind like elite fuel is non-negotiable, because everything you'll ever do, become, build, or experience starts in the mind first. Most people take better care of their phones than their minds. They charge their devices every night but leave their dreams disconnected. They stay updated on strangers' lives but stay unaware of their own inner world. They scroll endlessly through distraction but never sit in stillness to think deeply, read intentionally, or reflect powerfully. Your mind becomes what you immerse it in. It adapts to what it's repeatedly exposed to. If you want to expand, you need to surround your mind with content that forces growth, with language that pulls you forward, with knowledge that demands action. And you must be intentional, because the default is decay. The world is not designed to make you wise by accident. You must protect your mental space like sacred territory. That means monitoring who you listen to, what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you allow to echo in your mind throughout the day. Because repetition is reinforcement, and repetition creates reality. You become what you absorb consistently. One powerful idea read every morning is more transformational than hours of passive noise. One life-giving conversation with someone who challenges your thinking is more valuable than 1,000 shallow interactions. Tell lies. Start reading books that disturb your comfort and stretch your identity. Listen to voices that remind you of your power, not your past. Write down your thoughts, journal your questions, explore your inner terrain like a pioneer mapping uncharted land. Build a routine of mental nourishment, as serious as your need for food. And when people ask how you're growing so fast, how you're thinking so differently, how you're attracting new opportunities and stepping into higher rooms, it won't be luck. It won't be chance. It won't be easy. It will be because you've made the radical choice to feed your mind like your future depended on it. Your mind listens to your voice more than it listens to anything else. What you say to yourself, about yourself, and for yourself, repeatedly, becomes the programming your subconscious obeys. This is the law of autosuggestion, and whether you use it with intention or not, it is working every single day. Every time you say, "I'm not good enough, I can't do this, nothing ever works out for me," you are placing an order with the universe and reinforcing a belief in your own mind. And your subconscious, with zero judgment, will begin bending your reality to match the statement. Autosuggestion is not wishful thinking. It is not standing in front of a mirror repeating empty affirmations while your heart is full of doubt. It is the disciplined, emotional repetition of words that reshape your self-image and reprogram your paradigm. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about declaring the truth of who you are becoming until the old version of you starts to fall apart. Because repetition is the mother of belief, and belief is the foundation of behavior. And behavior, repeated, becomes destiny. You cannot build a powerful life with weak language. The words you speak set the emotional tone for your future. They send instructions to your nervous system. They activate or deactivate your energy, your faith, your ability to move through fear. And when you speak something often enough with emotion, your subconscious treats it like fact and begins looking for evidence. This is why autosuggestion is not optional. It is essential. It is the act of feeding your mind the new truth until the old truth has nowhere left to hide. It is the weapon you use to break generational thought patterns. It is the daily discipline of planting seeds of greatness so consistently that they eventually take root and choke out self-doubt. Write your affirmations. Speak them aloud. Say them with emotion, not passivity. Rehearse the reality you are building as if it has already arrived. Your words must match the vision. Your voice must reflect the future, not the fear. Speak like someone who is already in alignment with the outcome. Speak like someone who has burned the old identity and is no longer negotiating with limitation. Voter suggestion is not something you try when you feel good. It is something you use, especially when you feel off course. It is how you steer your ship when the storms of doubt come. It is how you return to center when fear tries to rewrite your script. Speak your desires before the evidence shows up. Speak power into your mornings. Speak focus into your goals. Speak discipline into your habits. Speak prosperity into your atmosphere. Speak resilience into your trials. Speak direction into your confusion. Your subconscious does not know the difference between a current reality and a consistent command. It will respond to the dominant voice, and when that voice is yours, and it is unwavering, and it is aligned with your chief aim, your environment begins to catch up to your conviction. You cannot build a new version of yourself while surrounded by voices committed to the old one. Growth is not just a personal decision. It is a relational one. The people around you either feed your vision or fight it. They either breathe life into your potential or bury it beneath opinions, limitations, and outdated familiarity. Your environment is not neutral. Every conversation, every relationship, every comment you allow near your spirit is either reinforcing the new identity you're building or reminding you of the cage you're trying to escape. If you're serious about transformation, you must become ruthless about proximity. A mind builder is not someone who simply agrees with you. They challenge you to rise. They don't flatter your weakness. They provoke your strength. They don't let you settle in mediocrity. They hold a mirror to your greatness even when you've forgotten it. These people are rare, but they are necessary. Because when you are in a season of shifting your paradigms, you are vulnerable to doubt. You are shedding old mental habits, rewriting deep beliefs, and constructing a new reality, brick by brick. And during that process, the wrong people can slow your momentum. Not through malice, but through ignorance, fear, or comfort. Mind builders speak the language of growth. They read, they stretch, they confront, they move. They are not intimidated by your evolution. They are inspired by it. They don't shrink in your presence. They expand with you. These are the people who talk about ideas, not people. Who ask about your goals, not your gossip. Who remind you of your vision when you're tempted to abandon it. You don't need a crowd. You need a core. A small circle of people who think higher, speak truth, and carry the energy of purpose. Because energy is contagious. And if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, sarcasm, and doubt, it will start to seep into your mind, no matter how strong your intention is. Examine your circle with precision. Who challenges your thinking? Who speaks life into your potential? Who celebrates your wins without shrinking? Who holds you accountable to what you said you would do? And just as importantly, who drains you? Who dismisses your growth? Who belittles your ambitions with jokes dressed in insecurity? Who clings to the version of you that you're trying to leave behind? You are not obligated to stay loyal to environments that dishonor your future. You are not responsible for preserving friendships that collapse every time you rise. You are not selfish for choosing growth over comfort. You are responsible for your mind, your mission, and the atmosphere that surrounds them. Build a tribe of elevation. Curate your circle like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future is too important to keep explaining your hunger to people who have no appetite for growth. You are not meant to carry your calling around people who are committed to staying average. And it's not about arrogance. It's about alignment. When you surround yourself with mind builders, you don't have to shrink your dreams to fit the room. You don't have to explain your obsession, apologize for your ambition, or hide your evolution behind small talk. You can speak freely, think wildly, build boldly, and move without resistance. Because in a room of builders, your blueprint is respected, even when it's not yet complete. Your imagination is the workshop of your mind. It is where all your future realities are born before they ever materialize. Everything you will ever build, become, or manifest begins first in the unseen, crafted, sculpted, and rehearsed in the private theater of your imagination. And yet most people leave this workshop unattended. They allow it to collect dust, filled with borrowed fears and recycled limitations. They imagine worst-case scenarios more often than best-case outcomes. They visualize loss, failure, rejection, and chaos with vivid precision, and wonder why their lives never rise above anxiety, procrastination, and hesitation. You must understand, the imagination is not a toy. It is a tool. It is not just a place for creativity. It is the command center of your future. It gives form to your faith. It adds emotion to your belief. It becomes the spiritual rehearsal space for what your life is being trained to expect. And if you don't train it, the world will hijack it. Your environment will shape it with noise. Society will program it with limits. Trauma will freeze it in fear. Doubt will paralyze it. And if your imagination is filled with clutter, you will only ever see versions of life that look like survival. Training your imagination requires intention. You have to sit with your desires long enough for them to take on detail, color, shape, sound, feeling. You have to rehearse your future until it feels more familiar than your past. You must build scenes in your mind where you walk boldly, speak confidently, live freely, love deeply, give generously, and lead unapologetically. You must allow your imagination to override your memory. Because memory recalls what has already happened, but imagination activates what is possible. And if you're constantly consulting your memory, your life will be a remix of yesterday. But if you consistently train your imagination, your life becomes a vision in motion. Imagination must be exercised like a muscle. It must be stretched beyond the known. You must ask yourself better questions. What does the highest version of me do every morning? What does success feel like in my body, not just in my bank account? How does freedom sound in my conversations? What does legacy look like in action? Sit in silence and give yourself permission to see it all. Speak it, draw it, write it, build it in your mind before it exists in the world. Walk through your dream house in your imagination. Deliver that keynote speech in your mind. Launch that business in full motion in your mental screen. Have the conversation with your future self where you thank them for not quitting. These mental repetitions are not fantasies. They are blueprints. Do not underestimate the creative power you hold within you. Everything you see around you, the architecture, the technology, the cities, the music, the businesses, the innovations, all of it existed first in the mind of someone who dared to imagine more than what was handed to them. Someone who refused to let their external reality limit their internal vision. Someone who closed their eyes and built in silence what the world wasn't ready to see. You must become that someone for your life. You must become the visionary of your own destiny. You must begin to see with clarity what others call delusion. Because when your imagination becomes trained, your faith becomes unstoppable. And when your faith is unstoppable, your reality starts to obey your vision. The most powerful transformation begins when you stop waiting for permission and start behaving as if the promise has already been fulfilled. You don't need to wait for the title to lead like a leader. You don't need to wait for the money to carry yourself with abundance. You don't need to wait for external validation to walk in your purpose. When you act as if you're already there, you send a signal to your subconscious, to your nervous system, to your environment, and to the universe itself that you're no longer negotiating with the old version of you. You are living from the vision, not toward it. This is not pretending. It's positioning. It's not faking. It's forecasting. It's choosing to move, speak, and think in alignment with the identity you are stepping into, not the one you are shedding. Most people sabotage their growth because they keep waiting to feel qualified before they act boldly. But authority is not something you receive. It's something you embody. And you act as if you are already there. You bypass fear, doubt, and delay. You walk into rooms with conviction. You face decisions with clarity. You carry a presence that says, I've already arrived in spirit. My results are just catching up. Your imagination must shape your posture. Your belief must dictate your habits. You have to train your body to walk in rhythms that match the life you are building. How would you speak if you were already successful? How would you dress? How would you treat others? How would you manage your time? How would you handle obstacles? Don't wait until you arrive to learn the behaviors. Practice them now. Install them now. Become them now. Because the world does not respond to what you hope for. It responds to what you embody. Energy introduces you before your results ever will. This principle demands consistency. You can't act like a champion only on the days you feel good. You can't show up in excellence only when it's convenient. When you live from the vision, your life becomes a rehearsal of greatness. You take care of your health like someone who's already achieved discipline. You make decisions like someone who's already leading. You invest like someone who understands their future is non-negotiable, and people will question it. They will mock your confidence, misunderstand your certainty, and label your faith as arrogance. Let them. Their confusion is the proof that your energy no longer fits their narrative. You must carry your dream so fully that people begin to treat you according to your destiny, not your current location. You must carry yourself so intentionally that your presence begins to shift rooms even before the accolades arrive. Because when you act as if you are already there, your behavior begins to collapse time. You accelerate the arrival of opportunities. You magnetize people, conversations, and resources that align with your future. Life starts to make room for you, not because of your resume, but because of your readiness. Stop praying for open doors if you're not ready to walk through them. Stop rehearsing failure in your mind when victory is available in your voice. Stop treating your future like a stranger when it's waiting for you to recognize yourself. Act as if you are already there. Act like the mission is urgent. Act like the dream is guaranteed. Act like the ceiling never existed. Act like fear has no vote. Act like you've already broken through every limit and built the mindset to stay at the top. The loudest voice in your life is not the critic outside of you. It's the whisper within. It's the constant stream of language running through your mind, narrating your decisions, interpreting your experiences, shaping how you see yourself. And most people never question that voice. They let it play on repeat, echoing every fear, replaying every failure, recycling every label ever thrown at them. And if you want to shift your paradigm, you must become the editor of your mind. You must take control of the script and rewrite your inner dialogue with intention, precision, and authority. Your inner dialogue is either building your self-picture or breaking it down. It's either affirming your greatness or reinforcing your doubt. It's either expanding your courage or feeding your hesitation. And the dangerous part is, it's running even when you're not aware. The moment you wake up, your mind starts talking. I'm tired, I'm behind, this won't work, they won't understand, what if I fail? That is the old programming speaking. That is the language of limitation, the vocabulary of fear, the dialect of defeat. And if you don't interrupt it, it becomes the voice of your decisions. Rewriting your inner dialogue is not about positive thinking. It's about truthful speaking. It's about replacing the internal lies with internal leadership. It's about talking to yourself like someone you are responsible for, not with pity, not with excuses, but with clarity, compassion, and command. You have to begin the daily work of noticing the language patterns that don't serve your highest self. You have to catch the I can't, the I'm not enough, the I always mess this up, and confront them like an intruder in your home, because that's exactly what they are. Mental intruders, sent to keep you small, silent, and safe. Every time you speak to yourself, you are shaping your identity. So ask yourself, are you speaking to yourself like someone who deserves to win? Are you speaking to yourself like someone who is building legacy? Are you speaking to yourself like someone who has survived storms, climbed out of pits, and is being prepared for platforms? Or are you repeating the words of people who never saw your value, the words of critics who don't know your calling, the words of your past, trying to bully your future into silence? You must become the voice that speaks life before anyone else does. You must become fluent in the language of resilience, strength, strategy, purpose. You must talk to your fear like a coach, not a victim. You must talk to your doubt like a warrior, not a worrier. You must look in a mirror and rehearse the truth until it becomes louder than the memory of failure. Tell yourself, I am capable. Tell yourself, I don't chase, I attract. Tell yourself, my value is not up for debate. Tell yourself, I don't need approval to be powerful. Say it with your chest, even when your confidence hadn't caught up yet. Because your inner voice must lead your feelings, not the other way around. Speak like someone who knows a war is won. Speak like someone who's been called, not just hired. Speak like someone who is becoming dangerous to doubt. This is not arrogance, it is authority. It is the authority that comes when you stop letting your past write your future's vocabulary. It is the authority that rises when you decide, I will not repeat another year of mental self-sabotage. It is the authority that rewrites shame into strategy, pain into purpose, mistakes into mastery. Your inner voice is not just commentary. It is prophecy. What you say in silence becomes what you live in public. If you want to shift your paradigm, rewrite the story playing in your own head, because your mind will believe the voice it hears the most. Make sure it's yours, and make sure it speaks victory. Every decision you make carries the weight of your future. Each choice you make is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. And the reality is, too many people make decisions based on fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of success, fear of what others might think, fear of making the wrong choice. And because of this, they move cautiously, hesitantly, and with uncertainty. They limit their potential and shrink their possibilities because their decisions are based on the limitations of their current mindset, not the power of their potential. When you make decisions from fear, you are allowing external circumstances, your past experiences, and the voices of doubt to dictate the direction of your life. Fear makes you shrink in moments when you should stand tall. It makes you second guess when you should trust. It forces you to play small, stay safe, and accept mediocrity. Fear whispers, what if it doesn't work out? But power answers, what if it does? Fear tells you to play it safe, to wait for the right moment. But power tells you to act now, to create your own opportunity, to trust that you are more than capable, and to know that no matter the outcome, you will learn, grow, and rise higher. When you decide from power, you are making choices from a place of strength, vision, and certainty. You are acting from a place of trust, not in the world around you, but in yourself. Power comes from the knowledge that you are resourceful, resilient, and unstoppable. Power is the knowing that you have everything you need within you to figure things out, even when the path is unclear. Power is not a gift, it is a skill. It is the ability to remain grounded in your core beliefs, to stay anchored in your purpose, and to move forward even when the terrain is rocky and the horizon uncertain. Making decisions from power requires confidence in your intuition. It requires the courage to trust your inner wisdom, even when the external world is screaming uncertainty. When you make decisions from power, You are not waiting for the world to confirm that you are worthy. You already know that you are. You're not asking for permission to succeed because you know your success is inevitable. Every decision you make, whether it's about relationships, business, finances, or your personal growth, should come from this place of deep, unshakable trust in yourself. Power comes from aligning your choices with your vision, not with your fears. It comes from knowing that every decision you make is leading you closer to the person you were always meant to be. Fear tells you to play defense, protect yourself, guard yourself, wait until it's safe. But power tells you to play offense, go after what you want, step into your greatness, claim your worth. Power means acting despite the fear. It means making decisions even when the outcome is uncertain. It means choosing to take risks because you know that the rewards of growth far outweigh the comfort of staying stagnant. Power says, the fear of not trying is greater than the fear of failure. And that's where transformation happens. The moment you make the decision to operate from power, your mindset shifts from scarcity to abundance. Your choices are no longer limited by fear. They are propelled by possibility. To make decisions from power, you have to quiet the voice of fear. Fear will always try to speak louder, try to control the narrative. It will bring up doubts, insecurities, and old memories of failure. But you must learn to hear your inner power above the noise. You must learn to identify when you are operating from a place of fear and stop it in its tracks. Pause, breathe, and remind yourself of who you are. Remind yourself of your vision, your goals, and your abilities. Power is knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way, and that every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. When you make decisions from this place, you create momentum. You step into your greatness. You choose not to be defined by fear, but by your unwavering belief in your potential.